Hello and welcome to the Divorce to Bliss podcast. Here you will learn all things related to healing from divorce, mind, body, and spirit, so you can create a beautiful new life filled with happiness. I'm Rachel Ruby, author of Divorce to Bliss, divorce coach, speaker, and attorney, and I'm so glad you found me here. Hello and welcome to the Divorce to Bliss podcast. I'm Rachel Ruby, and I'm so happy to have you here today. As you know, I love to share different things you may not think about that will either help or make your healing journey more fun or easier, whatever it may be. And today's no exception. We're going to be talking about how to use essential oils in your journey. And my guest is Carol Yeh Garner. She has a master's degree in social work and has spent over 25 years in the wellness space teaching hypnobirthing, working as a hypnofertility practitioner, and as a wellness consultant for Young Living. Carol helps busy professionals up-level their health and wellness by educating them on how to use all-natural products like essential oils and how to reduce exposure to harmful, hormone-disrupting, cancer-causing ingredients. So if you don't know anything about essential oils or you think this may not benefit you, please stay and listen because it's going to be really fun and you might be surprised. Welcome, Carol. Thank you so much for being here today.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's great to have you.
Here. Yeah.
Yeah. So I personally started my journey with essential oils, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago, kind of wondering what they were and learning more about them and buying some and not really understanding the makeup and all that of how they differ. And now, of course, I'm more well versed, but I am excited to have your expertise. So for those who don't know anything about essential oils or maybe have heard of them and just don't understand what they are, why don't you tell us what they are?
Yeah. Well, they're basically, we're going back to the days of when people used plants, herbs, and spices as medicine, right? And so the essential oil is like kind of the lifeblood or the immune system of the plant. And it gets distilled out of the plant material. And then we use that oil on our skin or in a diffuser or breathing it in. And it can really help with basically all the things. I can't say what all those things are because of, FDA regulations, but use your imagination. You can just think about like all the things that plants can do and what they used to be used for, hundreds of years ago. And you can use oils for those kinds of things, but also for emotional support.
Okay. And we're going to be talking about that, but it's really fascinating because I love the fact that in the last, decade, but maybe even less, maybe even 5 years, there has been such a trend towards these natural remedies and remedies that, ancient Chinese wisdom and other, cultures have used for so many years. And I just love it because I've always been a big fan of that myself, even when it comes to my dog, my vet. So I love the idea that we have these options. Can you tell us how there's so many different brands of essential oils and you can buy them, like even if you go on Amazon, you can, they'll say pure, organic or whatever. Can you tell us what makes different brands different? And I'm going to ask a 3-pronged question. And if you want to come back, we can. What makes them different? Why are the ingredients and sourcing important when it comes to the oils? Mm-hmm. And what should someone look for when they're shopping for essential oils and products related to that will be beneficial instead of potentially harmful?
Yeah. Well, I will be totally transparent and honest. I've been with Young Living for 11 years, but I was using essential oils that I bought at the store for like 3 years prior to that. And I thought Young Living was a scam. Like I thought they were priced too high, that it was, a network marketing thing, pyramid scheme, all of that. And I was like, I'm never going to use those oils. I'm just going to buy the oils that I can get at the health food store, right? Because they do, like you said, they say pure and natural, 100% natural, all those kinds of things. And we were using those store-bought oils for years, but didn't really see a huge impact. And so it was October 2013. My kids at that time were 7 and 9, and my husband at that time was teaching first grade. So as you can imagine, it was basically a recycling germ factory in our home. And I wanted to do something about it. And I knew that the store-bought oils that I was buying, they weren't doing what we wanted them to do. So I thought, all right, I keep hearing about Young Living. I'm going to try them. And once I smelled them, it was night and day difference. And once I did more research, I found out how important sourcing and processing and all of that is. Because when we're using essential oils, we're putting them on our skin, we're breathing them in when we're putting them in a diffuser. And those little molecules are going into our bodies, into our bloodstream. And those molecules are small enough that they can pass through the blood-brain barriers. You need to just make sure that whatever we're using, as long as we can control the controllables, that's my tagline. Control the controllables, decrease as much as we can, control in terms of the environmental toxins that we're exposing ourselves to. So what you want to look for in an essential oil company is not just that the label says 100% pure and natural, because nobody is regulating what's in the bottle. You can slap on a label and say 100% pure and natural, but no one's out there. There's no agency making sure that what's in the bottle is actually 100% pure and natural. Even 100% pure and natural, you can use natural, pure products that are made of synthetics or made from petroleum-based ingredients, or even could be organic ingredients, but they're still toxic to you or harmful to you, right? So you want to make sure that the plants that are in your oils, they're grown in dirt that does not have chemicals or pesticide residue. So Young Living makes sure that the dirt of the farms that Young Living owns, which they own farms all over the world, or they partner with farms that live up to our standards, has no pesticides or dirt, or no pesticides or chemicals for over 50 years. So that's better than even certified organic standards, which is 7 years of no chemicals or pesticides in the dirt. They make sure that they don't use GMOs or pesticides in the plants, right? Because what's going on the plant eventually ends up going into the distiller and processing. So those ingredients don't need to be put on the label, right? So you want to make sure that whatever oil you're getting, make sure no GMOs, no pesticides. So Young Living goes to such high standards to ensure that they're finding really innovative ways to manage pests and weeds. For example, the Utah farm, they have partnered with a bunch of different local farmers who have a special breed of sheep. And the sheep come to the farm, the Young Living farm, and they eat the weeds, but they won't eat the plants. And then this is also part of like a regenerative, sustainable way of working, right? Because the sheep are squishing the dirt and pooping and peeing, and that adds nitrogen to the dirt. So they're doing so much research and innovative things like finding a special breed of sheep that won't eat the lavender plants, but will eat the weeds. So you want to make sure that's happening. Then when you talk about the distilling process, you want to make sure that they're distilling in food grade stainless steel. And so most oil companies buy their oils already pre-distilled. So they don't have any quality control over that. If they do distill their own, it's usually through a method called flash heat distillation, which means they're taking an aluminum drum out in the middle of the farm. They're stuffing the plant material in there. They're lighting a fire underneath it. That fire heats up the plant material. The plant, makes the steam come out with the oil. But an aluminum drum is going to leach aluminum into your oil. And a flash heat distillation process with just this fire underneath, it's effective and it's very quick. It releases the oil very quickly. But that flash heat is going to heat that plant material and that oil so high that the therapeutic properties of that plant are then destroyed. So you get a good smelling oil, but it's really not going to do much for you therapeutically. So Young Living uses stainless steel that's food grade. They use low heat, slow steam distillation, which takes a really long time. It makes it very expensive. They have temperature gauges on them. And at some farms, depending on the plant, they even have computerized temperature gauges that monitor and tweak things specifically to make sure it doesn't go too high or too low. And so that is going to ensure that nothing is leaching into our oils. And then they use glass tubes, not metal, nothing. And then they test during the distillation, after the distillation, and even after bottling. And then they send it to a third party for independent testing. And the Young Living labs are multi-million-dollar laboratories that test for heavy metals, contaminants, mold, all the bad things, bacteria in the plant, but they're also testing for constituents. Are the constituents in this bottle of lavender meeting the standards of what Young Living wants in their oil to make sure that it is as potent and pure and clean as possible? And so they've been around for 31 years. They have 30 years of what's called a library of tests that they can then look at and compare this lavender to, years and years and years of other lavenders so that they can ensure that the constituents in this lavender are actually what they need to be at the highest level. So all of that is crazy to think about that goes into, one little bottle of oil. But that is really why Young Living tends to be more expensive. But what you're getting is very, very clean. You're going to use less oils than what you're going to use from the store-bought. And you're going to ensure that you're not exposing yourselves unnecessarily to harmful chemicals or byproducts of the processing or distillation process. So there's so much that goes into it, and I geek out on all of it because I love just like how detailed Young Living is when they think about all the things. And one of the really great things that Young Living offers is that you can go to any of the farms around the world and just get a tour and see the whole process from the dirt to the seed to the seal of the bottle. And it's fully transparent. You can get a tour at any of the farms. So I've been lucky to go to quite a few of the different farms around the world and see that whole process. And it blows me away every single time.
Yeah, thank you for such a detailed analysis. I think I really enjoy that because it sounds so simple. Oh, I'm going to get some essential oils and, whatever. But it really makes sense. And it's just like anything. Well, in two respects. One, you get what you pay for, obviously. You can go buy a t-shirt at Walmart or you can buy one at Nordstrom. Now, they might both be nice, but the quality is probably going to get better at Nordstrom and you're going to pay a little more money. But also, I think just understanding, like I said, there's this kind of new awakening in at least in our country, in the world right now, about all of these things, about the soils that we grow things in, about the toxins, pesticides, what's in the air, and all these things play such a part. And even something as simple as, putting, like you said, when they're doing the distilling process or the heating process, using the glass versus the plastic, because the plastic leaches into things and can put microplastics in your body. Right. And I love that this is all becoming so transparent now because it's something I've been really into for years. And I've always say, why don't they teach people these things? Why don't they say, when you buy something and it says pure or natural, those aren't even regulated terms. I mean, I can go make something right now that I get from some bad soil and put pure, as long as maybe I have one little ingredient that's pure, but the whole thing that's within the product doesn't mean that that's pure. So thank you. That was that was great.
Yeah, greenwashing is a huge problem. So many people for sure think that they're doing better by buying these products that say pure and natural or clean or free, or the packaging looks, really modern and clean and natural. And once you start looking at the ingredients, it becomes pretty apparent. But most people are just trusting that, it's like a clean, green, product, that it's better. It's better than the mainstream, but it's still not great. And I love that. I love the backstory. Focused.
Yeah. And the whole backstory of Young Living. I love that they put so much attention into doing all of those things, because I'm a huge ingredient reader. Like when I go to the grocery store, I don't eat any processed food. I don't eat meat. I don't eat sugar, but I'm always reading labels. And it just blows my mind, for example, natural flavors is people think, oh, that's good, but that's not good, because there's a lot of things that could be encompass natural flavors that aren't really natural. So, when you say, essence of lavender, essence of organic lavender, okay, that's different from a natural flavor. So anyway, I digress, but it's nice that this is all unraveling now and being put out there for people to understand. So thank you for helping us understand this. Let's switch a little bit over to the scent, and how does scent affect emotion?
Yeah. Well, when we smell things, it goes up into our brain to the limbic system, which is our emotional regulation part of our brain. So when we smell like, a cinnamon roll and think of like, oh, cinnamon rolls from when I was a kid, like it brings us back to that moment, and we get that like good, warm, cozy feeling inside. When we smell a smell that brings up a negative emotion or negative memory, like our body reacts to that. And so scent is huge. And there's so much science lately coming out that is showing that what we're smelling is really, really impactful. There was a study that showed like if you smelled these 5 oils and distilled them at bedtime, it improved memory and decreased dementia. There's lots of studies out there about like forest bathing and how when you're out in the forest around trees, it does something to your brain chemistry and it helps you stay more grounded. So all of these things are amazing, right? But we can't live.
Same with the ocean. Yeah. The air,
right.
The ocean
the
air.
Ions and all that. Yeah. But we can't live in a forest. Not many of us live even, especially if you live in a city, there's not many trees, right? And so one of the beautiful things about essential oils is because you're having an oil scent that has the trees in it. Like this one's called Northern Lights Black Spruce. It's made from black spruce at the Northern Lights Canada farm. It's super grounding. And so I can just smell that, or I can apply it on my pulse points on the crown of my head. I could put it in in my diffuser, and it's just going to create this really calm sense of groundedness that maybe you might not get without something just kind of activating that within your brain. So that's one of the really beautiful things that essential oils can do for our mood and for emotional regulation. So there are definitely several oils out there that are really great to have. This one is my favorite mom's special. It's called Stress Away, and it comes in a little roller. Right now it's out of stock, but it's going to come back soon. But you just roll it on your wrists, behind your ears, or whatever, and it just smells a little kind of like a tropical vacation, but it just instantly calms my shoulders down because I tend to hold tension in my neck and my shoulders, and I just instantly am able to feel calm. But one of the tips that I recommend if you have little kids is when they have a temper tantrum or they're just really emotional, you can just put a little swipe of oil. Again, obviously use Young Living because it's high quality, right? But then you just take that little swipe and then just rub their head or rub their back. You don't even have to say anything. Just walk by. I call it a swipe by, because you're just swiping and wiping. And then that scent is going to go to their limbic system, and it's going to help them regulate their emotions. And within a minute of applying the oils on my kids, when they were having just a really bad temper tantrum or just getting really emotional, they would just be able to be calm and really talk about what they needed instead of freaking out and getting overly emotional about it.
And that is fantastic, especially for, a lot of the people I speak with who are going through such trauma and, victim state mentality and just being lost and trying to climb out and figure how I'm going to get through this divorce. And I think, anything can help, anything that's going to make it easier. And what's in that stress one? What ingredients? I'm curious.
Stress Away, it's there's copaiba, there's lime, cedarwood, vanilla, agatea, and lavender. So copaiba, cedarwood, Hope I use a resin from a tree, cedarwood, that's grounding. And then the lavender's calming, and vanilla just makes it smell kind of tropical. It's really yummy.
I love that. That's fantastic. I really like that other one you talked about with the foresty smells.
Yeah. Northern Lights wax spruce.
Northern Lights. I might have to get that one.
Yeah.
There's something about being in a forest. And for me also being at the sea, both those things, the air, just breathing that in, it just, I don't know. I just feel this instant, just brings me down like 10 levels.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Just hearing, so I live a mile from the beach, and sometimes, the seagulls, once in a while I hear the seagulls going by, and I'm like, even that noise is like, oh yeah, the beach is there. It's just that, it just triggers that emotional. Yeah. So it's wonderful. So you kind of talked a little bit about this, but can you go into a little bit more about the frequencies in the oils and how they individually correspond to different parts of the body?
Yeah. Well, first of all, it's been shown in lots of different research that we hold emotional trauma in our bodies, and they get stored in different organs. And so I just know by memory, that your liver holds anger and resentment, which everybody has anger and resentment from all the things, but especially for your clientele, they're probably dealing with a lot of anger and resentment. So putting an oil right on where the liver is, which is right underneath your right side of your rib cage, every night, and then saying an affirmation, like there's an oil blend that I used. It's called Release. Another one's called Surrender that I would highly recommend putting over that liver area. And every night, apply it and say an affirmation like, I release all that's unnecessary and unwanted, and just rub that on there. And I really felt a huge difference over the period of 4 to 6 weeks of doing that every single night. I definitely was holding resentment towards my husband. We've been married. We've been together since 1992. So there's, marital issues that obviously come along with being married from that age to now. And it really, really helped me see that the resentment that I was holding onto was not necessary. It wasn't benefiting us, and that there was a better way for me to communicate my needs versus holding on to that resentment. But we have an energetic frequency that is kind of like our force field, right? There's a lot of science that shows that we have an energetic frequency. Everything on this planet also has an energetic frequency. And then depending on trauma in our life, emotional upset, and physical situations that we get into, there can be energetic frequency blockages that are in that field. And the beauty of the way that Young Living oils are distilled that maintain that energetic frequency, the molecules of that plant, because they use that low heat, slow steam distillation process, doesn't kill off all the good stuff from that plant material. When we apply those plant oils to us or breathe them in, they go into our energetic frequency and help bring back or balance the frequencies that are out of whack. And so sometimes you might smell an oil and just be like, oh, that one smells horrific. So for example, when I first smelled the oil called Joy, it's super florally, and I thought I was going to throw up. And it was like really overpowering. And I just like, this is disgusting. Why are so many people in love with this oil? And I was lucky enough to talk to the owner of the company before he died. And I was like, everybody says Joy is so great. And he said, if you don't like the smell of it, then you actually need that more, because your energetic frequency is lacking that specific frequency, and it's initially rejecting it, right? But the more that you use it regularly, that'll integrate that frequency into yours. And so what he recommended is put a drop of Joy over your heart every day, layer it on with something else to kind of cover that smell. So I put orange on or whatever. And I definitely saw, like, over again, 4 to 6 weeks of using that, I definitely, the smell shifted. It's one of my favorite oils now. And I did find myself becoming more joyful and less like critical and controlling and wanting to like, you know, need to have to know all the things. And so it just made life more easy to just live, right? More calm. And grounded. And so it's fascinating. The oil cedarwood is also a common one. A lot of people smell that and they'll smell cat pee when they first smell cedarwood. But if you use it over time, it smells like a tree. And so again, that was my experience as well. It smelled like cat pee, but it's really good for sleep. So I was like, okay, I'm willing to try it. I'll put it on the soles of my feet and, you know, it'll be far away from me. And it definitely helped me get a better night's rest for sure. And just turn my mind off from that like constant, you know, type A kind of thinking that never goes away. So it's really interesting and fascinating. There's different frequencies for different oils. And if you learn more about frequencies, you'll learn that when someone's sick, their energetic frequency is lower, like Cancer has a low frequency, and love, gratitude, and actually I heard authenticity is the highest frequency. So, you know, the more that we can help what we have do better, then life is just going to be easier and better to deal with.
Yeah. So, I love that. I love it. So it's so beautiful and so true. And, you know, the universe shows us in many ways, our bodies show us in many ways what we need. And often we don't see that and we reject that. I think with anything in life, like you said, like the oils, it's telling you if something repulses you or it could be a sign that you need to give more thought to that. And maybe, like you said, put a drop on your heart and start with that and see. So that's fantastic. And I agree 100% that smell is huge. I mean, not only does it bring you back in time to certain maybe childhood memories or this memory or that memory or the day you did something, but it can definitely stimulate those feel good hormones and cortisol levels and all that stuff. So yeah, that's great. Are there any other ways we can use oils for emotional support?
Yeah, I love doing, if I'm really needing like a moment and I don't have 5 minutes to take and like go and sit or whatever, what I'll do is take an oil. Valor is my favorite grounding oil. It's a blend. It's got the Northern Lights, black spruce, and a couple other things. What you can do is just stick a drop into your hand, rub it to really activate those molecules. And then it's called a scent tent. And you just hold your hands over your nose, take a couple deep breaths. I mean, you can do this in less than 30 seconds, right?
Yeah.
You could even do it in the car when you're in traffic and just take some of those really deep breaths to get those molecules in to activate that limbic system, to help regulate those emotions. And you can just feel your body just melting away the tension. And it just is going to help you get through the rest of your day so much better. And, you know, life as a mom, life as an entrepreneur, life as, you know, any working person, but especially for your clientele that might be navigating through a divorce or contemplating, you know, where do I go? Like these oils can help you get grounded so you're not in that fight or flight response all the time, so that you can make a decision that's not frazzled, not based on that fight or flight fear state of mind, and more in a grounded state so that you can make the decisions that are really the right ones for you based on having your brain in a good place, right? Because oftentimes we're in a traumatic time of our lives. We're not necessarily thinking the best way, not making the best choices for ourselves. And we're often reacting versus being proactive, right?
Yeah.
And so
reacting instead of responding.
Yeah. And so these oils, just taking 30 seconds to do that little scent tent, just having those oils in my purse all the time, it's been so helpful. Just navigating life a little bit more easily.
That's Yeah. And that's a great way. That's such a great way to do it because like you said, some people might not have the time or they might have this moment of just panic or stress. And you can just take that 30 seconds and just breathe. And I also wanted to point something else out that you're going to love. So Valor, I have Valor from many years ago, probably about 5 years ago. I have a dog who was she had a rough beginning. I rescued her. And at one point, she was really stressing out going on walks. And I had a meeting with a dog healer. My vet was an Eastern and Western medicine vet. And he referred me to this dog healer. And I went there and she met with my dog and she suggested buying Valor and putting some drops on her neck before the walks. And I did that like religiously and it seems to have helped. I mean, and she loved sniffing it. And she said you can even hold the bottle and she would put her nose there and sniff it. And because it's pure and natural, it's not, synthetic. Yeah. And she loved doing that. And she stood there and let me put it on her. And so I think there are many uses just, also with animals, which is great. Yeah. Wow, this has been so much fun and so informative. So I'm going to put your links to your Instagram. And also, if people want to maybe contact you with any questions, they can do it there. Do you also have somewhere within the Young Living space where they can reach out to you to ask about oils for certain types of things and maybe place an order with you as well that I can share on the screen?
Yeah. My website is carolgarner.com. So they can always contact me there. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and my phone number to contact me is on my website. So
yeah, perfect. And I'll have all that on the screen. Yeah, I'll have all that on the screen for those who are watching. And for those who listen, it will be in the show notes. So please contact Carol if you're just starting your journey into essential oils, or perhaps you learned something new here today, like I did, about how different companies might vary in their ingredients. And you can learn a lot more from her. And let me know. Please let me know and let Carol know what your experience is and how things go, and if you're feeling any different, because I know that essential oils have really helped me a lot. So, and my dog. So yeah, thank you for being here, Carol. It was really fun and informative. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.